I won't just stand here then. I'll do something. Well, welcome to Flrysh, everybody. Thank you for being here. Yay! And today's show is about healing through music and energy and Ayurveda. And our first guests are ready to share some music. So here are Sherry Hursey and Rick Cowling.
As a flower shows its petals, as a baby bird takes flight, as the morning sun says day's begun, there is a spark of light.
As the snow falls on a mountain in a canopy of white, as the rainbow crawls through a waterfall, there is a spark of light, and it ignites the flame within us,
a burning love that has no end. This wheel of life with its gifts of light spins round and round again. When we give our hearts to someone, when we try with all our might, when we sing out loud, reaching for the clouds, there is a spark of light.
in the sound of playground laughter,
In the gaze of true love's eyes, in a mother's face when her newborn takes the very breath of life,
as it was in the
beginning, in this world that has no end. This wheel of life with its gifts of light spins round and round again.
and in our deepest sorrow,
Or in our darkest night, when we're far from home, we're not alone. There is a spark of light.
without a doubt,
The stars come out. There is a spark of light.
Yeah. All right. Don't you feel better now? I do. Before I get into more about Rick and Sherry and have them tell a little bit about their healing journey, well, Sherry's healing journey that Rick was on, I witnessed it. My name is Malayna, and we are here at the Centers for Spiritual Living in Granada Hills. Welcome. And we are live streaming, so if anybody wants to turn around and wave to the camera, feel free. Thank you. Very nice. You follow direction very well. Thank you. So, I think that song perfectly expressed the eco-centric connection, creative connection part of Flrysh's mission. And our community eco-heroism is via field trips. So one is in the works, I'm hoping with Showers of Hope. So watch our Facebook page for details about that. And Inspired Action for the Planet happens as we learn together and make changes to our own lifestyles. And then one by one, it may feel like a small impact, but together we make a large impact for the world. And so it's kind of easy to start with this vow. If I push the right button, no, none of those buttons work.
You have to point that way.
I have to point that way. Is it the side buttons? I've used this before, and yet.
There you go.
Did, oh, thank you. I needed instruction from the Rev. He knows how to work this thing. So it's easy to make a start and make a shift and think more ecologically when we use this vow, which is from the Order of the Sacred Earth. Let's all say it together because it's there and it's easy. I promise to be the best lover and defender of the earth that I can be. And the beauty of that is we start where we are, we do the best we can, we don't beat ourselves up, and we just know that we'll do better in each moment with each choice. We are also, let me see if I could do that, and oops, I overdid it. Okay, I overcompensated. We're also an IONS community group, and what that means is we are connected with the Institute of Noetic Sciences, which is a nonprofit that connects science and spirituality, which we love because it turns out nature is science and spirituality. See how that works? So I had a pretty slide to share. There we go. So we're just going to keep that up to like hypnotize all of you as we talk a little bit now with Sherry and Rick. So come on up. We have chairs and everything. Going right up here.
Take a different microphone, or
I don't know. Let's play a microphone game.
Yeah.
You guys want to share? We have extras. I don't need one. Yeah. So as long as we tell our mic in the back which mic. And she's got red, he's got blue.
Green.
Green?
Green.
Oh my gosh, I wasn't prepared for that. As long as he knows, we're good. So my experience, I've known Sherry for quite some time. And then I met Rick when they eventually after they met each other. It wasn't immediately after. And so I've known Sherry as a musician and, you know, a spiritual sojourner. We've journeyed together. Yeah, and so I'd like you to tell this part because I don't feel like I have the cred to tell this part of your story and what inspired you to write that song together and your healing journey, which is what we're here to hear about.
Okay, well, let's see where we start at the very beginning.
You have to turn it on?
Yeah.
Push the button.
I should know that.
You could start at the very beginning again.
A very good place to start.
Indeed.
Okay, so I guess the healing journey that Malayna is talking about, you know, is the call you get August 19th, 2015, that tells you that, in fact, the 3 cysts that were tested were all positive, and yes, you have breast cancer. And nothing more was said other than it was a Friday afternoon at 4 o'clock, and we were on a video shoot. Rick and I were already together at that point, and we have a company called Turning on the Light Entertainment that produces positive music and media. And I'd been an actress for a very long time and then had become a producer, and we were doing a lot of positive stuff for PBS and then got into positive music production as well. So we're on a video shoot in a van with a bunch of people, and I get this phone call, and the woman is, you know, I don't mean to scare you, but you got to do something right away. And I grab his leg, and I felt actually Spirit saying to me, this is an appropriate time for you to get this information because you're going to video this whole experience, which was a really interesting thing. And I really felt that that was actually part of my healing journey, to embrace it as an adventure. That was the beginning of that. And then I got home that, I mean, I said to everybody, we were getting ready to go to another part of the shoot, and I'm got this information, and I'm kind of in shock. And I said, you know, maybe we shouldn't continue shooting.
Yeah.
Maybe
Well,
we
sort of
need
a,
to
should
go
we go
home.
ahead with the shoot?
I mean, I was like, okay, so we went home.
So you went against the whole show must go on thing.
That's right.
We
We
decided there's another show that took precedence,
Yes,
which was the
I-
life show.
There was a live show, exactly. So we actually let the rest of the crew go on, and
Okay.
we went home, and there were a lot of amazing blessings and miracles. I can't even tell you how many that happened. As it turned out, our roommate at the time had been having a journey with melanoma and knew some amazing doctors, and normally would have taken me a long time, but I was able to get right away, Friday afternoon, I was able to get an appointment that Monday morning with his doctor. And another good friend of mine, that a very spiritual, intuitive woman that I love for a long time, said, I know this amazing Ayurvedic doctor in Chatsworth. And I called because I'm very much a naturopath and I wanted to try some alternative things right away. And he had an appointment open that next day. So I went, I knew that was hand of God too. And I went to him and he just reminded me, as we do with each other, who I am, the power that I possess, you know, remembering who I am as a person and as a divine child of God. And he set me on a path of taking care of myself physically. And I went out and bought all of these natural organic foods, cut everything out of my diet that was in any way inflammatory. Mm-hmm. It was pretty strict, but not hard to do when your life is on the line. And I really followed this protocol, and I prayed because the type of breast cancer that I had, there had been, thank you God, a new antibody therapy that had just been tested and just been out almost a couple of years or a year before me. And they could only administer it with chemo. So I was having to decide whether I was going to put myself through that to get the antibody therapy or do just the Ayurvedic method. And I was able to do both, which was pretty amazing because they couldn't even set up all of the testing and set up all of the treatments for about 6 weeks.
Yeah.
So I had 6 weeks, and Rick was very supportive, and he helped me. I mean, I was eating lentils every day.
So was I.
That's how you help. That's how you support.
And it was really...
Actually there were some cool recipes.
There were some cool recipes, yeah. No sugar, no wine, no, different lifestyle. But I knew I was in good hands, and I had this sense. I mean, his treatments were so simple and so spirit guided, and it was just every time I'd sit with Dr. Patel, he would say, "Are you walking in the morning? Are you meditating? Are you drinking your tea? Are you taking your..." I mean, it was simple.
Yeah, it does sound simple, doesn't it?
Really simple, but
we forget to take care of ourselves in those simple ways. And we think it's okay to push them aside, don't we? To say, oh, no, I don't have time to walk in the morning. I'm really busy. I have to get to whatever it is. Or I'm going to skip that cup of tea. I'm feeling sleepy. I'm going to go for the coffee. And that's how the shifts happen, is these one little putting ourselves aside over and over again.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I honestly, to be completely honest with you, I have my own theories about what creates this kind of environment in our body. And I had been running myself ragged. I had been a caregiver for my mother for years, putting her above my own needs, which is something we do a lot of times. I wasn't following a lot of my regular, preventative measures that I normally do. I wasn't exercising as much. I wasn't going to my acupuncturist on a regular basis, having my massages, things I used to do for myself. Mm-hmm. A lot of things came down. I also had a business relationship end about 6 months prior. That was a trigger for me for some emotional childhood wounds that I had not healed, even though I had been working diligently on them for a long time. Mm-hmm. And they popped up. Yep. And they are living in my body. Yeah. So I really had to love myself in a way I had not been doing, and having this protocol to focus on brought me back to that. And it was a really important part of the healing, was to be able to concentrate on myself, say no to everything else, have quiet for 6 weeks. And then I did chemo.
Yeah.
And radiation.
But one of the other things that I think was really important is you're claiming to be healed already. You really believed it, and so did I. I thought this is over. It's going to be great, and you really believed it too. And putting yourself in that place and just claiming it every day, I'm whole, healed, healthy every day, I think was huge. to you claiming the health. I don't know, but
It
to me that was a
sets
huge
the
part of it.
energetic vibration in your body, and it helps shift it, right?
That's what I think. I think your body
starts-
knows what to do.
Yeah.
But you gotta
You
let
gotta
it do it.
drive.
Yeah.
You gotta
That-
drive
And
that
stop
bus.
stopping it from helping you.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the greatest gifts I got from this whole journey, honestly, was knowing the power I possess to claim my health
Yeah.
and my will to live.
Amen.
I really had to check in on all of those fronts. I mean, I really did. And the beginning of the journey, I called, I think it was Reverend Molly, or I can't remember who it was that I called right away.
Mhm.
And I got advice to go get in the water, put my feet in the ocean. Rick and I went right to Paradise Cove.
Well, first you said get a camera. we're gonna
Yeah.
we're gonna
We decided to shoot
we're
it
gonna
all,
shoot this,
and we
you know.
did. I mean, everything.
But yeah,
I
you went in
wasn't
the
pretty
water.
half the time. I got in the water. I got up on the rocks, and I said,
Yeah.
"I am cancer-free. I am healed, whole." I mean,
It was like,
yeah,
And that's
And I
filmed,
felt
right?
it all.
You
I
have
felt-
it on
I've
video.
never seen anybody
Dude.
get that news and then go do that.
Right.
So it was pretty amazing.
Well, and I didn't really properly introduce because I was so excited to get you guys talking. But Sherry Hursey, you may recognize her. She was a regular on Home Improvement for years and the film Bring It On. So she's an established actress. She's been in New Thought since you were 14. So she's not a stranger to knowing the truth, and yet still, even if we have all the tools, sometimes we forget, and sometimes we let our attention shift and redirect, and sometimes we get ourselves into situations, like you said with your work situation, that we have the best of intentions, and we're trying so hard, but we forget a part of ourselves in the process. And it's these things that are like the irritation in an oyster, that we make a pearl, but we have to make the choice to make a pearl, right? We have to shift our consciousness and then start taking action based on those. So I remember seeing footage of the beach, and I also remember that you put the ocean sounds in the background of one of the songs, because through this process they were continuing to write songs and perform music. So even though they were already doing music together, because Spark of Light is the first song that you wrote together,
Right.
It's
right?
the first
right.
song we wrote.
Yeah, and they were introduced by a positive music artist that they had both worked with independently, and I guess he was working, you were producing Harold Payne's
Right.
album
Yeah.
and needed a backup singer, so Harold called Sherry.
Right.
Yes, and Harold and I were doing Contagious Optimism live
Right.
at the Thousand Oaks Convention Center.
Mm-hmm.
And he called me and said, "Come and sing on the song with me at my producer's house."
Bing.
Right.
It was pretty special.
Yeah.
Well, and you were working on Contagious Optimism live in that work situation. So even doing everything and focusing on the positive, but as you said, there were some sort of shadows underneath or unhealed things from childhood that it had to be triggered for you to know that they were there. Otherwise, like you said, you thought you were working on it. You were doing everything you could. So the journey of life, it really is that the ups and downs and ins and outs, and it's how we meet the challenges and the choices we make and what we prioritize, right?
I think staying in the moment
Mm-hmm.
was one of the best gifts I had, because focusing on God in every moment and in every one in that experience, I made amazing connections with people that I will never forget. I have so many beautiful stories. I'm actually writing about it, but one of them in particular is a woman who was in radiation with me every single day, and she was not a happy camper. She was always sitting there with her head down and always angry and frustrated and upset. And I was in there. I was kind of scared of radiation just because of the big machines. So I had them put on meditation music and play soft music and turn the lights down. And I just, imagined and not imagined, but felt the angels around the room blocking anything that would be, unhealthy for me. So when I came out one day, she wasn't looking. And I'm a little woo-woo, so I just sort of stood with her, and I just kind of imagined her having the same feeling I had when I was in there of being loved and supported by every energy that's present. And she looked up and said, "What are you doing?"
So she felt it.
She felt it.
Must have.
Yeah.
And I said, "I'm seeing your angels around you." And that's all I said. And I left. The next day I showed up. She had roses for me.
Aw.
And she came up to me crying her eyes out and said, "You changed my life. You changed my life."
Aw.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And we have that on film too.
Wow.
It was amazing. And she said, "I thought I was going to die. And I knew what you said to me was a gift from God." Those kinds of things happened over and over. And I just felt like whatever the journey is for me, I am allowing it and embracing it. And I got to this amazing place with it. And it's gone even farther now, because it was really about also not buying anything that's communicating any limitation or fear out here. And it's the thing we've been trained to do. And that was one of the harder things to break. And it happened again when I would go back in for checkups. You know, I'd have night sweats, or I'd get a little nervous. My body would go into fear. And then being able to literally not allow that. I mean, to command the peace, to know that I am the commanding presence of health right here, right now. Get behind me and really do it. I mean, do it to the point where my body could relax, my body could embrace. I mean, I just went through this again 2 months ago because I had another radiologist tell me there was a mass back. Literally put her arm around me. "You okay?" Really, it was amazing. Ended up going through, I went to visit a friend who was in need on the other coast, and spent a week with her on the beach, prayed and meditated, came back, found a different doctor. He comes out and he says to me, says to both of us, "There's absolutely nothing wrong with her. She's got a little scar tissue and a little spot. There's nothing wrong. You don't need a biopsy. You don't need anything."
Don't get it. Don't get the biopsy. Yeah.
Right. Don't even need it. And I said to Rick, whether there was something there or there wasn't anything there, we did it. We claimed it. And it's more about the journey. It was really about what I got from that. Because what I realized from all of that, which was really amazing, is that at the end of the day, I didn't even have to go through my entire chemo. The good news is 3 weeks or 3 treatments into my 6th treatment, they were gone. And I knew they were gone. And I went into my oncologist and I said, "So does anybody ever get to skip out?" And she said, "No, not unless they can't tolerate it." And I said, "Well, mine are gone." She rolled her eyes. She's like, "Yeah, huh." And she gave me an exam, and she literally stood back and said, "Where were they?" And I said, "Here, here, here." She goes, "Sherry, I only feel healthy breast tissue." And I said, "Well, there you go." And she said, "Let's order another MRI." And she ordered another MRI, and she called me in tears. And she said, "You don't need any more chemo. They're gone." And when they did surgery, the radiologist called us in and said, "Okay, we don't see this, but there's not one cell of cancer in your body, not one."
Yes.
So
Yay.
I'm just saying.
So how's that for a healing
I'm just
journey?
saying.
That's good. That's good, man.
Yeah. And we are all on a healing journey of our own. And I know you wrote the song that I was hoping you would sing, Seasons of the Heart, while you went through that journey.
Yeah.
And it really inspired me because she looked out to nature and saw how nature does it. And we are nature. It's in us. So are you ready to sing? And did you have any,
Oh, no, I'm totally ready.
So
And
we're
you
going to have.
set it up really
we're gonna,
well.
Oh, thank you. So they're going to, you guys can go and get in your places. Go. So they're going to sing, and then we're going to have them back here. And I invited an Ayurvedic expert, local, Helen from Wellness by Helen. You can't see her if you're on the live stream. You have to wait. And so she'll come up, and then we'll be able to share some info about what that journey involves. can I sit here while you sing? Okay, I'll
Just
sit
had
down.
to say a funny
Because
thing
you'll
about-
watch me mouth all the lyrics.
So the butterfly is now the symbol, my little symbol for transformation. And when we started to write this song, I said, Rick, this is about the caterpillar and the butterfly. And he's like, we're not putting the word caterpillar in the song. And I said, oh, yeah, we are. Just when the caterpillar thought the world was over, just when it all seemed dim, nothing left to do but discover, even as day from night, darkness turns into light and became a butterfly. If they can do so can I. Just as the lily bud pushes through the mud to flower, a chick pushed out the nest finds it's just a test to empower a hidden strength inside. When we let go and glide, we discover wings to fly. If nature can do it, so can I. Won't try to run and hide. I'll be the changing tide in every season of the heart. I'll find a quiet place, sink into love's embrace, and let the transformation start.
Just like the sleet and rain pound the window pane in December, when all the clouds appear, there's no need to fear. Just remember, the winter birds will sing another song of spring, and a rainbow lights the sky. If nature can do it, so can I.
The seasons come and go, just as we live and grow. There's a magic to impart. Won't try to run and hide. I'll be the changing tide in every season of the heart.
Just when we've set the stage, life turns a page forever.
And when the angels call, I won't resist at all, just surrender
Into that quiet place,
filled with amazing grace, to embrace a brand new start. Yes, I can do it.
yes, I can do it.
There's nothing to
There's
it.
nothing to
It's
it.
just a new season of the heart. A new season of the heart, just like a butterfly. Seasons.
Well, I feel healed. Thank you very much. Well, so now I'd like to invite Helen to come on up here, right here. We'll have a little chat and talk about you a little bit, and then we'll bring them back up to join us. All right. Yeah, let's move that closer to you.
Hello. Can you hear
Is
me?
it on? Is it working? We didn't test
Now?
that one before.
Hello.
Okay. We can move it up a little bit so you don't have to sit in a weird pose trying to.
As long as you can hear me.
Can you
Hi,
hear her?
Thank you for having me.
Yay, good. You're welcome. So, there you go. I was just Googling, Ayurvedic experts in the area, and I just really liked Helen's page, and so I called her, I don't know, a few days ago, and said, hey, I do this little show. It feels like a few days ago. It might have been a few more, but. And we just started chatting about being Valley girls who've lived in different places in the world. And so I asked her to come on here to share her experience because you're an Ayurvedic medicine practitioner.
Yes.
She has a really long title. That's the first half. The second half is holistic wellness consultant?
What do I have on there?
I don't know. Did I write it down? Nope.
So I've taken everything that I've been classically trained in with Ayurveda, and I've combined it with functional medicine. So think of it like old world, new world. And the most beautiful part about that particular combination is that they say the same thing, except that they're 5,000 years apart, which to me just tells me that it's the truth. So the way that we're looking at the root cause of things now in terms of functional medicine is the same way that the sages looked at it 5,000 years ago when they didn't have labs and technology and the internet and microscopes and all of this fancy testing. So when I look at, I'm looking at someone in front of me and I'm seeing their imbalances, I have the logic of Ayurveda going, what are the elements that are showing up? Where are the imbalances coming from? What is this person like in their natural state? Is this their balance? Is there their imbalance? And then I'm also reading what the numbers say. That's a little bit more maybe easy to understand than me saying, there's too much fire in you. I'm going to go, oh, your glucose is off. So it's a little bit more relatable. And then I kind of take the two and whatever's in front of me, however they're living their life, what their personality is like, then I kind of tailor which direction I'm going to go in. But the beautiful thing about working with these two sciences is that they say the same thing.
So which did you do first? Which did you study
I did
first?
Ayurveda first.
Okay.
Well, I should say cellular molecular biology.
Okay.
Played with genes and DNA and made, bacteria colonies glow in the dark and GMO'd things.
Okay, see her face, that's her thing, right? I mean, you could tell she chose the right
coolest
field.
thing. Yeah, it's the coolest
She's
thing.
like,
You're like, oh my God, I just created that. It's like playing God. And then I went, oh, wait a minute, I'm playing God. I don't know how I feel about that. But it helped me understand the science part of making things efficiently in a world economy and then going, okay, but I'm messing with the energetics of this. So what is this telling my DNA to do? How are my cells replicating from something that's coming, so what's the information? So,
so you
life,
did that first and then you did
and then I got it. And then, I was in the lab and it was, I was very, very happy, but the road to becoming a doctor was so long. And I'm like, I don't know if I have the patience for this because I already know so much now that I want to help people. What do I do? And Ayurveda kind of fell into my lap because things find you when they're supposed to. Everything shows up in perfect divine timing. And it was the only science that I had looked at that considered the body, but also the mind and the spirit. And I thought, this is the most complete system of medicine that I've ever looked at. And so I pursued Ayurvedic medicine. I did the counselor program, and then I did the practitioner program, and then I traveled to India, and I was there for a while working in hospitals and clinics. I did a private internship in the mountains in a really remote area where there wasn't a lot of money, and we had very limited supplies. And the doctor that I interned with was teaching me within 5 minutes to recognize where's this coming from. And he's the one, because when I was in the hospital, we had 3 weeks with somebody. So you have the time to go, I'm going to try this, I'm going to do that. Okay, that didn't work. Okay, well, I'm going to do this. And, you kind of baby them. But when you have 5 minutes with someone and resources are limited, it changes. You have to really know what you're looking at and what's the most important thing. What am I going to treat first? Maybe there's 17 things, but you have to pick one. And so you go, what's the one that's going to have the greatest impact? And that really changed my perspective because it taught me to look at not what somebody's telling me, but what they're showing me. They're telling me that they're not sleeping, and I'm like, okay, but how's it showing up? What system is depleting them, for example? Or they're telling me this, or they're telling me that. And so he would say, do you see this? This is that. Or, the skin, she's saying this, but look at her teeth structure. And it was really, really cool. It was very eye-opening.
And it's also going beyond language at that point, because you are not from an Indian background, right?
No, I'm Latin.
Okay.
So,
So you were drawn to this other culture and living, and I've lived in Sri Lanka for 12 years, so I'm familiar with being immersed in a culture that is not exactly your own, with different language barriers and cultural challenges.
You learn the subtleties of what somebody's not saying.
Yeah.
And that's, I think it's so relevant to understanding yourself, because something that you said, for example, is you had time before you started your treatment to really get everything in order. And what I heard from that was, when you center the spirit, the body follows. And that's the thing that we're not doing, is we're going to the body and we're forcing the body. Give me the magic pill. I've spent my whole life imbalanced, and now this is showing up. Give me the magic pill to fix it right away. And we're forgetting to go, let's take a step back and look at everything. And that's what Ayurveda does, is it considers your nutrition, it considers, your imbalances, your predispositions, it looks at your genetics, it looks at your personality, it looks at your lifestyle, it looks at your relationships. I ask people, what kind of music do you like? That matters. It's all energy. Everything is an exchange of energy. And so...
And the treatments are also holistic, because the treatments are yoga and what you're eating and what you're putting into your food and your environmental stimuli.
Absolutely. It's lifestyle medicine. We look at everything.
Yeah.
Because you didn't... So after doing Ayurveda, when I came back to the States, I realized that if I don't find a way to translate this into something that's practical and logical and convenient for people, no one is going to do it. I could have the most amazing herb blend that's going to fix literally everything, and if it doesn't taste delicious, you're not going to drink it. It's going to taste like dirt, and you know this, because it comes from the earth. And if someone's like, it's part of it is a commitment to yourself, part of it is understanding what's going on. And for some people, you need that wake-up call. And I think that the thing that's missing the most is we have lost the intuition to understand what our body's trying to tell us. We push through, and it takes a cell 5 to 6 years to mutate. It takes a very long time for your body to become imbalanced. And it's very easy to stay balanced, but once you become imbalanced, it's really hard to kind of come back, especially because we live imbalanced for so long. And so there's a lot that goes really deep, and pulling yourself out of it, it takes commitment and it takes time, and most people don't want to do it. That's just what it comes down to. And something else that you said that reminded me is what I find in practice is that there is a huge emotional component to healing that doctors aren't talking about, even holistic practitioners don't necessarily address, because it opens up a whole other can of worms. You heal in direct proportion to your self-esteem. If you don't believe that you deserve to be healthy and happy, you won't ever get there, and you'll sabotage it.
Okay, Sherry
Yes,
wants to join in. Come on
because
up.
I think that you have a lot
It's
to say
time
about
now.
this. So
She's
when
like-
you,
Rick, do you want to come up too, or no? All right.
yeah,
I'll scream.
and taking
red.
your,
Okay.
and I
This one
think
was-
taking responsibility for your health, we put our health
my
in our
gosh.
doctor's hands and we give it to other people, and health is something that we deal with when we're sick. It's not something that we consider as the little things that we do every single day that builds up over time. Your health is the compound effect of what you do every single day. So when it gets to the point where you reach that tipping point and your body's like, every day, pay attention, and you're like, I gotta go to work, take the magic pill, take the Tylenol, take the whatever, I'll sleep tomorrow, I'll sleep over the weekend, and we do that for years. When do we become imbalanced? When we're teenagers. We go to college, then we get married, and then life happens, and we buy homes and stress, and it's everything all at once where our bodies goes, I've tried to get your attention for years, you're not listening, I'm gonna take you down, and I'm gonna force you to listen. And that can go one of two ways. Either you use it to empower you, or you use it to debilitate you. And that's purely your choice. But if you don't have the self-esteem there to say, I deserve to be here, this is a blessing to me, I'm going to take this and do something with what I've been given, then I think you're missing a huge part of your your own evolution, your gift that you're being given. You know, taking your health back is a very personal choice, and there's no judgment either way. But I think that that's what, you know, when you got that news, you kind of went, okay, thank you for bringing this to my attention. Now I can do something about it. And it becomes your top priority. And I think that's why you were able to heal yourself, because you made yourself a priority. And
That
we don't know
is
how to
true.
do that in the society.
I was helped by one other aspect that I didn't mention before, but because you brought this up, I will. A friend who had heard about my diagnosis that worked with me at DreamWorks had gone through the very similar, almost exact diagnosis I had a year prior. And she had been introduced to a book called Breaking the Code of Your Illness that was written by Isabel Benereau and a bunch of German and other European doctors who had done enormous studies on the emotional effects prior to being diagnosed, things that have happened in people's lives. And it was amazing. And she wanted me to read it. She sent me the book. I read the book. I called Isabel. I'm still seeing her. She's amazing. She's like a bio reprogrammer. And she
Yes.
introduced me to the fact that I was a victim in a big way. And this was an emotional thing that had happened when I was younger. I think it's part of our society as one of the things that we kind of don't even realize how much we can still think, even if we're in new thought and we understand truth principles, we can still find ourselves blaming or thinking that we're victims in some way. This was still living in me in a big way. And that book opened my eyes. And Isabel, the first time I went to her, she started arguing with me right away. I talked to her about a situation in my life, and she said, well, you didn't want to be there. You didn't like her. You didn't like that. And I was like, oh gosh, no, I loved her. Oh, what are you talking about? Oh, my God, no, I know where you're going. This is wrong. No, you don't understand. Eventually, she got through.
Now, how often would you argue with a medical doctor?
Exactly.
Like when you go to have a test
all the
taken?
time. But that's just
You do. And
I'm like,
you
why?
might.
Why?
Probably
Why?
would
Why?
too,
Why?
yeah.
Tell me
But
why. And
most
they're like, I don't know.
people don't, because you consider them an expert. When it comes to spiritual or psychological, we often feel like we have the right to argue. So if we're going to somebody for help, why don't we listen
That's
to
so
them?
funny.
It just occurred to me.
Yeah, but a lot of times medical doctors don't give you the respect that you know your body. And they
That's true.
reject
That's
Well,
well,
that
and
is
that's
very
part
true.
of the challenge of Western medicine is focusing on individual symptoms and treating those. So it's the opposite of holistic. It's
I also think it's difficult with the internet because people will look up what they
Yeah.
think they have, and then they come in going, I need an antibiotic, and the doctor's like, no, you don't. I've gone to doctors with something, and I'm like, as a healer, I don't know what this is. Can you help me here? Because sometimes we get scared, or you want a second opinion. And by the way, it's an opinion. A diagnosis is an opinion.
very
Could you say that
good.
again?
It's an
Everybody hear that?
opinion.
Diagnosis
I've had
is an
girls come
opinion.
to my clinic, and I'm like, they told you what? They told you have, let's say, depression, and they're giving you anxiety meds to up you. This is anxiety. They're making it worse. And I'm like, okay, how do you? I don't want to discredit anybody, but it's my responsibility to teach you enough about yourself so that you understand what's going on with you. So I think it's an opinion, and I think that you can take it and have that define you, and you put the label on yourself of I am sick, or this is happening to me, or you go, this is information, that's interesting, I'm gonna keep looking, and then what can I do about it?
I think
It's
I
the what can I-
totally
it's the
agree
what do I
with you, and
do
I'm
with
so glad
this?
you said that, because
Yeah.
I found this over and over again. The medical profession, and we looked up to them. My dad was a doctor, so I've looked up to the medical profession, and they do an amazing job. Western medicine has a different approach than Eastern medicine, and it is more fear-based, and that is
It's
just
symptom-based.
symptom-based.
It's
Yeah.
sick care.
Right.
We practice health care. So I want to keep you healthy and teach you how to stay balanced so that you don't become imbalanced and you prevent things. And doctors are taught, we have an emergency, we gotta fix it right away. So we have something like a cancer, which is an inflammatory condition. There's, a low immune system condition. There's a variety of reasons why it could have been allowed to be presented in your body and it wasn't shut off earlier and all those things. And there is the magic pill for that is we cut it out, which is extreme, or we chemo you, which is extreme, or we radiation you, which is extreme. And those are, it's treating the symptom. So it's symptom based. It's like if, your car light comes on and you go to the mechanic's gonna go, well, it's your oil. And you go, okay, fix the oil. They don't ask you how you're driving your car. They go to the problem. The light's on, we fix that one thing.
Right.
And what Eastern medicine is, think about it this way, when there wasn't technology, we lived of the earth. We went to bed with the sun, we rose with the sun, we respected the seasons. Nature grows all of the antidotes that we need. In the summer, cooling, very hydrating foods grow. In the winter, we get the nourishing, very fatty foods. And so when we respect the laws of nature and when we live according to the seasons and to what's going on, our body stays balanced. And understanding that, if I can keep you balanced, then when an imbalance shows up, we go, okay, well, we need to either balance some more or we treat that one thing. But it never really is allowed to get to the point where it's life-threatening. I do want to say something. You touched upon patterns, the archetypes and the patterns and the stories that we carry with ourselves. I think that stress is a huge component in all illness. Ayurveda says you will only ever manifest a disease from one of two routes. Can anybody guess what they are? Yes, stress is one. What's the other one?
Depression.
Digestion.
Ah.
What is your body doing with the nutrients you're giving it? How is it transforming it into energy and nutrition? And then what is the stress load on your body, both coming at you and coming out of you? Are you skipping meals? Are you going too long without eating? Is there stress because you're not digesting properly? Is that creating inflammation? So what is the mechanism? It's either one of two routes. So when you break it down to the root cause, where is this coming from? It makes it really manageable. It makes it really easy. And that's when you can take your health back, which is the beautiful thing about Ayurveda. But the thing that we don't realize about stress is that it's a survival mechanism. We used to run from lions, right? When we evolved to start walking around, and now we're hunter-gatherers, we went from scavengers to hunter-gatherers. And how did we survive this long? We were out picking berries one day, and we see a lion that has its eyes on us, and we go, oh my God, how do I get out of this? Am I gonna fight it, or am I gonna try to run? Am I gonna fight or flight? And that's the sympathetic and the parasympathetic system. And only one of them is working at each time. So you're either in stress mode or you're in rest and digest. So if you're not repairing and resting your body and creating new cells and rejuvenating, you're running from a lion.
And you can't run all the time from a lion. It's exhausting.
But we
I've
do.
tried it.
But we do. We sit in traffic. We're
Yeah.
late to work. We go order coffee. They make it wrong. Our kid spills milk on their, whatever. It's like everything is stress constantly. Constantly. We get our information from the internet. And so you're trying to get healthy and it's telling you to juice this or to, fast over here or to do this crazy thing. And it's causing stress on our system because we don't understand our own nature.
Well, that's another important thing for me.
Yeah,
that I've
and
learned
that's,
from
I
all
think,
this is the doctors that you choose or the places where you go actually for your health care have to resonate with you. I tended to just sort of give that power to those people who know better than I do. And I would tend to want to just like take someone at their word right away. I mean, okay, he says I need this. He's a guy, he's got a PhD. I mean, I need to listen. But they're individuals and they come from the same place or different places. I mean, I have my oncologist is very spiritual and very progressive. I love her. She's not conservative and she's not fear-based. She will say, you don't need that. Whereas my surgeon was a person who was like, well, I don't care whether they told you to need more chemo. You got to finish that chemo, and you've got to do this, and you've got to do that because you need a PET scan every 3 months, and you need to. I mean, it's a completely.
I feel stressed from just
Oh my
your
gosh.
reenactment of that.
And yeah, and I didn't even realize at that point. I said to Rick, I mean, it took me a while to really get in touch with the fact that I didn't feel good when I went in his office. I love him as a man, and he's an incredible doctor, but he wasn't for me. And that's okay. And I didn't realize that. I mean, I said to Rick, I don't like going in there. I get nervous. I get weird. I go to Dr. Patel and I feel at home. And I can receive the treatment.
I think there's definitely something to be said for getting as many opinions as possible. Everybody's opinion is valid, but you have to understand that they're looking at it from their specialty. So if you go to a spine guy, he's going to say the spine is the root of the problem. If you go to a, hairstylist, she's going to say, well, it's the coloring that you're using, whatever. We're trained in our specialties, and then when we have something in front of us, we look at that one thing and how it's affecting everything. And so I think that when you're faced with a health crisis, it's very important to get as many opinions as possible, and then to take a step back and go, which one resonates the most with me? Yep. And what can I do that's in my control? Because I would argue, and I'm gonna, with all due respect, most of the things that we experience are lifestyle created. We are doing it to ourselves. So how much of it has gone to the point where you need an intervention from something outside of you, and how much of it can you control with your day-to-day? Our health is what we do every single day. It's the little things that add up, 100%. And then just going back on stress, our cells are conscious. Every stress that you've ever experienced trains your cells. And so if you're not able to clear it, and if we are carrying things from our childhood, because that's how we evolved. I mean, you're trained as a child, don't touch the fire, it's hot. That's a stressful thing. Your mom yells at you when you go. And so if you hold on to the yelling of your mom versus the protection of your mom, it's all a perception. And so it's choosing to perceive the messages that you're getting in a way that serves you. And I think that becomes difficult when our systems are overwhelmed, if there isn't proper support. And then, our gut microbiomes are off, our neurotransmitters are off, we don't sleep enough, we're not hydrated, and everything affects everything else. And so it's overwhelming to the system. And unfortunately, I think that we don't pay attention until it affects us to the point where we don't have a choice. And then we're overwhelmed by the amount of things that we have to do to heal.
Okay.
And so we go, give me the magic pill. And
I'm going to wrap it up now because I think I'm a little overwhelmed.
Are you? No.
No, I'm not. But I am watching the clock.
It's my intention to say we are absolutely in control of our health.
Yes.
And sometimes it takes a reminder to remember that. And I think that's the message today, is that whether it's a cold or if it's cancer, the things that you do affect your health. You can prevent, or you can. Everything either makes you stronger or weaker. And if you can understand what makes you stronger or weaker, and you always make the better choice for yourself from a place of self-love, then you're good. And if you don't know what to do, then find someone who can help guide you. And that's really the message, I think.
So wellnessbyhelen.com if you want Helen to guide you. And yes, you can applaud her, Nancy.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And you can find more information about Sherry and Rick and all of the different projects that they're doing and we're doing, because sometimes I'm in on them too, at TOTL Entertainment, it stands for Turning on the Light Entertainment. So if you don't want to type all those letters, TOTLentertainment.com, and you can find out some of what they're doing. And so now let's just take a minute. Do we have anybody who's willing to collect a little offering? Andrea, I'm looking at you, hoping that you will nod, but you got up. That's even better. Okay. So this is to invest our energy and make a choice to give love in the form of this symbol, and invest it in this center that helps and supports through all volunteer effort to put the show together and to bring guests like this and to send it out on live stream and archive it for later use. So any little seed you want to invest in growing this lovely, flourishing being is absolutely welcome. And remember that kind of choice with intention and action is exactly the kind of choices that we need to make for ourselves, investing in ourselves every day. Investing our money is kind of our vote. So when we spend money on something, we are saying, this matters to me. And so we need to look at how we're investing our energy, whether it's financially or where we're putting our attention, our thoughts, all of that. And so we have about 5 minutes. Does anybody have any questions? Do you guys feel moved to share anything else? We have a question from the audience.
So,
You want a
actually
mic?
now, if there's time, I'd like that.
That's
I have a
the
question for both of you.
Okay.
So I was curious when you were speaking to the beginning of your journey and writing, because I'm trying to think, so you have this diagnosis and yeah, you're in New Thought, but there's got to be some part that's going, holy crap, what's going to happen? And yet you write
That's
a song,
the green mic that she has now.
right?
just-
So I'm just wondering what the creatively, how you do that when you're in it. And if the song is like an affirmation that's, anchoring your affirmation, or is it like kind of both and kind of deal?
Well, you did have moments
That's a
of
great-
crying. You let yourself cry. You
Oh,
let
yeah.
yourself feel your feelings. I remember hearing you sharing some
Absolutely.
of that.
Well, the first night, I was kind of still in shock, but I shared everything with Rick. We weren't thinking about filming anything like a commercial thing. We were just documenting what was going on. And then I sat down at the piano and defiantly sang, "I will do amazing things," right? So for me, it was both of those things. It was taking the opportunity to create as a form of meditation and a form of aligning myself with Source so that I could hear the guidance and actually write the words down that I needed to hear. I think that's where it really comes from for me. And the first time we sang that song, I was in the middle of chemo and I didn't have any breath at all because I could hardly walk. And I remember I couldn't even sing. I couldn't hold a note. And when we listened to it later on, we would just cry and interestingly enough, I couldn't look at any of the footage. I had to give it off to somebody else because I would go there and I didn't want to go there into that place where I was then. Now when I see it put together, because we've come up with a movie actually, and it's almost done, and when I look at it all put together, it's uplifting. And it's actually a musical journey, surprisingly, because music's my soul. So
I don't find that surprising at all.
no, but I didn't think it would be that.
Right.
But I use music as that tool. I think that's exactly what it is for me. I use it as an affirmative tool. I affirm. It's like I do when I sing. I'm a music director at my church, and I sing every Sunday affirmative songs to put them into my mind and have them with me all week, and let them go with the message. And
That's part of the magic of music, though, because it's thought made into vibration. So, and then it's sent out. So people get songs stuck in their head. They have those thoughts, but then if they hum along or sing along, then they have the vibration too. So it has that energy shifting sort of ability.
I was just, the only other thing that I just was amazed at when I went to see Dr. Isabel the first time, she pinpointed in such an incredible way the questions that she asked me. She was like, okay, so it's your right breast. Are you right-handed? I'm like, yes. She said, okay, so it's not your immediate family that you had a crisis with. It's probably your heart project, something that you do with work, some relationship with work. She nailed it. And what happened that made you feel the way you felt when you got diagnosed 6 months prior? And I was like, oh my gosh, I know exactly. So, there were so many. I really do believe a lot of what you were saying. There's so many components to illness, but emotional.
Everything is connected.
Everything's connected.
We're not like, you're not just your body. You have an aura. You come from somewhere. Yes, there's genetics. I'm absolutely a scientist, but we are spirits having a human experience, and you can't deny that. I look at a cell and I see God, because there's no way. The atom
I just found
is
her on the internet.
the atom.
Can you believe that? Energy.
You look at, but it's quantum physics. It's people go, ooh, it's woo woo. No, everything vibrates. It's fast or low, high or low. You look at an atom, which is the tiniest unit of anything possible, and you break it open, and there's nothing there. you split it in half and it blows up. But when you look at it, when you take a cell, you take a muscle, whatever, you take an organ, you break it down, there's molecule, there's a cell, and there's made of molecules, and there's amino acids, and there's individual atoms, and then you take one atom, and there's some energy around it, there's electrons, there's a proton, and there's some neutrons, and you break it open, and there's nothing there. And then there's quarks and subquarks, and you keep going, there's nothing there. And then you take a step back, and you have an eyeball, or a giraffe, or a banana, or, and there's life, there's thoughts. We don't know where thoughts originate. We know where we hold them, the hippocampus. We know what lights up when there's pain, but we don't know where our thoughts originate. And so everything is energy, and everything is just an exchange of energy. So
you really get
matters.
to feel that when you're in the middle of that kind of crisis, where your body and your mind want to just freak out, and you're like, oh my God, you want that, but there is that space. When you can get to that space in the middle of all of that is peaceful, that is calm, that is God. And you can get there no matter what is going on in your life. It really does happen.
Well, and that's why we practice too, because we practice meditation. So when those times come up, we know how it feels to get ourselves still and calm and focused.
So it's, I guess I just say it's an intense exercise to go to, in the midst of the fear, to get that back.
I think it's, you remembered who you are.
Exactly.
Remember the truth. It's so
you
amazing.
remember who you are.
And that's another one of your
And
songs.
any
I know who I am.
It's who we are is not enough.
Yeah.
At the end of it, if there's a situation in my life now at all, I'm aware if I'm feeling uncomfortable or I'm feeling my energy is, if I'm feeling any of that, and I used to just go with that. I used to just think, okay, it's me. I've got a problem. I'm too weird. I've got to, I put all my power out here. So this was the best thing for me to go, no. If that's not feeling good to me, that's not feeling good to me. And I know, part of me knows. And trust that, listen to that.
What I'm hearing is the difference between reacting to what's going on and feeling that responsibility to other people versus remembering your own truth and being authentic in yourself. And the more you
sing it, sister.
Yeah, and the more you get to know who you are and you trust your intuition and you live within your nature.
You do have to practice that too, though. You have to learn
absolutely
how it feels.
Because everything is watch children.
Yeah.
You take a child to a family gathering and they run to some people and they run away to other people. And we teach them you need to be polite and hug everybody. And kids are like, I don't like that person. We understand energy and we're closer to the source when we're kids. And so it's real. They don't know how to lie yet. They're not taught to be someone else. They're just who they are. They're the purest source of energy. They're the closest thing. And if you watch them, they're light and they just blurt out things and we learn to adapt. Our body also adapts, but we adapt our personalities. And I think in that we lose some of our authenticity. To be loved, to be liked, we picked up, fears and bumps and bruises along the way. And so we get to something like a health crisis. And if you don't know who you are, for you it clicked and you went, wait a minute, and you dove into the thing that makes you feel the most you, which is music, but a lot of people don't have that. And so I think the thing with meditation is not supposed to feel amazing. Meditation is hard. You're sitting with your thoughts, you're sitting with yourself. You have to let that dust rise, but then eventually the dust settles. You do it long enough to where you get quiet and you're safe in who you are. And what you're doing with meditation, why it's so meaningful is because as you release the running from the lion stress that is no longer applicable to this moment of your life, that cellular memory starts to go. You start to clear some of that, and now you can actually hear your own thoughts, your own feelings, your own voice. And that's when your intuition rises because you get closer to nature. Nature's always running the show anyways. So I don't think meditation is supposed to feel good. In fact, it's supposed to be really hard. And we get up from meditation when it gets hard, and that's when the change happens. It's sitting with it a little bit longer, but that's you sitting with your truth, and I think it's very valid to look at that. And you keep what resonates with you, and you release what doesn't, and that's everybody's personal thing, but that's what I'm hearing from you, is that you allowed yourself to honor what felt right to you energetically. And that's such a huge component of healing. That is everything. It's everything.
I
Good for
decided
you.
I liked myself.
Hell yeah.
And I didn't dislike myself.
say
I
that?
loved myself. And
Yeah.
I liked my little, scarred up boob. I really did.
war
and I
wound.
still look at it
Yeah.
and go, I love you and you're so beautiful. I do it because
Yeah.
he does it too, which helps.
Nice, very good. All right, so we're a little bit over time. Are there any other burning questions before we say thank you to everybody else once again? No? All right, where's my clicker? Let's see. What can I do? Oh, well.
Thank you, Malayna.
Well, thank you for thanking me. Wanted to thank Center for Spiritual Living Granada Hills, and although it got a little wonky there, Reverend Mike and Stephanie McMorrow, Mike Carlin back there, and the board and leadership of CSLGH, and the website, cslgh.com. And then thank you to Michael and Tamaro Duffy back there in the sound booth. And I wanted to plug their passion project, InYourOwnVoice.com, where you use your own voice, record it, and listen to your affirmations back to you in your own voice, which is a wonderful way to not hear outside voice, but your inner voice. I can see that you're gesturing and hear that you're talking, but I can't make sense of it. So that's them. And let's one more time affirm this together. I promise to be the best lover and defender of the earth that I can be. And the Garden of Eden right in here. And that's our show. Thank you for coming. Wellnessbyhelen.com, TOTLentertainment.com, Flrysh.net. Thanks, everyone.